Total Drama Island. Here, creepy crawlies are your bedfellows and wacky challenges will have you crying for your mom. Stick around as we cover the show from beginning to end. Nestled somewhere in Muskoka, Ontario, Total Drama Island unfolds at the charmingly terrifying Camp Wawanakwa. Picture it as a trailer to hell, boasting a rundown, bug-infested, gross landscape that's anything but a vacation paradise. Our fearless host, Chris McLean, extends a warm, or not-so-warm, welcome to the 22 unsuspecting, stereotypical teens who weekly dive into challenges that turn the cray-cray meter up to 11. Every episode throws them into a wild challenge, with winners snagging invincibility for their team. The losers, well, they face the dreaded campfire ceremony where votes determine who's taking a stroll down to the dock of shame to the boat of losers. No marshmallow means you're out, and as McLean puts it, you will never, ever come back, ever. And of course, the last man standing gets to go home with $100,000. As you can tell by now, Total Drama Island pays respect to shows such as Survivor, Fear Factor, and the Canadian Idol. On the dock of shame, Chris welcomes our contestants. First to arrive is Beth, a rather petite and socially awkward individual. DJ follows, displaying a sensitive and cautious demeanor, possibly contemplating a refund for this peculiar camp experience. Gwen, the goth girl, arrives with an air of indifference towards the camp's less than luxurious state.
The great thing about lawyers is, they make lots of copies.
Jeff livens up the scene with a lively entrance, exuding a party-ready vibe. Lindsay, although not necessarily the brightest, certainly stands out with her vivacious presence. Heather makes her entrance, clearly unimpressed by the camp's shabby conditions. Duncan adds a touch of rebellion, while Tyler, the sports champ, inadvertently gives Heather an impromptu shower. Harold, the classic nerd, finds enthusiasm in the less-than-ideal conditions, and Trent mentions seeing Chris at a figure skating competition. Bridget arrives initially hoping for waves, but settling for the dock. Noah's arrival comes with a mention of life-threatening allergies. Lashana confidently makes her entrance, briefly clashing with Duncan's attitude. Ezekiel, the sheltered farm boy, takes things quite literally, and Cody's attempts at flirting with the ladies are swiftly thwarted. Ava's discontent is palpable. Owen brings boundless energy with an exuberant hug for Chris. Courtney arrives with poise but hides an inner nerd. Justin's arrival leaves everyone in awe of his looks, and Izzy concludes the introductions with an unconventional slip-and-slide entrance.
3. Oops. Okay, forgot the lens cap.
With all the contestants now accounted for, Chris takes on the crucial task of dividing them into two teams. On one side, we have the Screaming Gophers, featuring Gwen, Trent, Heather, Cody, Lindsay, Beth, Katie, Owen, Lashana, Justin, and Noah. Meanwhile, the other team, known as the Killer Base, comprises Joff, Bridget, DJ, Tyler, Sadie, Izzy, Courtney, Ezekiel, Duncan, Ava, and Harold. Amidst the team selection, Katie and Sadie persistently express their desire to be on different teams, though their pleas mostly fall on deaf ears. It's Courtney who takes the initiative, inspiring Sadie to summon her inner courage. Finally, Chris sets the stage for the first challenge, a daring 1,000-foot cliff jump into a designated safe zone in the lake. Each successful leap contributes a point to the team's tally, and the winning team gains an advantage in the upcoming hot tub construction challenge. The Killer Base and Screaming Gophers take turns facing their fears and making spectacular jumps. Katie and Sadie, inseparable friends, swap teams after a plea to Chris, leading to Izzy and Owen's memorable jumps. In the end, the Screaming Gophers triumph with Owen's courageous leap. The Killer Base fumble the hot tub challenge, resulting in the elimination of Ezekiel, who made some pretty misogynistic remarks that made him the first one to go home. As the Gophers celebrate, Courtney remains determined to seize the competition's $100,000 prize. The next day, Chris shocks the campers by announcing a 20-kilometer run around the lake, with breakfast promised only after its completion. Owen, the perpetually hungry camper, questions the absence of breakfast, and Ava's annoyance nearly turns physical, only to be restrained by Duncan and Jeff. After the run, exhausted campers gather in the lodge where an unconscious Noah receives medical attention. The Screaming Gophers mistakenly believe they've won invincibility, but Chris reveals that the run was merely a warm-up. A lavish banquet appears, a stark contrast to Chef Hatchett's previous unappetizing meals. Chris then unveils the actual challenge, the Awake-a-thon. The last camper awake secures victory for their team. The challenge reaches the 24-hour mark with all 21 campers still awake. 17 remain awake after Bridget, Noah, and Izzy succumb to sleep. Tyler teeters on the brink of slumber, experiencing a nightmare about his friends Katie and Sadie being mauled by a bear. Chris attempts to lull the campers to sleep with fairy tales accompanied by a tutu-clad Chef Hatchett playing the harp. DJ's attempt to stay awake by tying himself to a tree fails when he falls asleep, taking the tree down with him. Courtney tries continuous movement to stay awake, but eventually succumbs. The score evens with 4 Gophers and 4 Bays still awake. Owen sleepwalks off a cliff and swims upstream with fish but remains asleep. Trent and Gwen, who are growing closer, engage in conversation to stay awake. After 51 hours, Gwen, Trent, and Ava notice that Justin has painted his eyelids to appear open, resulting in his disqualification. At 85 hours, Cozy dozes off. Chris suggests the sleeping campers take a shower as a last resort. After 100 hours, only Gwen and Duncan remain awake. Chris reads a pop-up book about Canadian history, which finally lulls Ava, Heather, and Trent to sleep. Gwen's determination prevails until she wins the Awake-a-thon, granting invincibility to the Screaming Gophers. Later, Ava frantically searches for her MP3 player, accusing her team of theft. Heather manipulates the situation by returning the MP3 player and pretending to have found it. Ava attempts to apologize, but her team's trust is shattered. At the campfire ceremony, Ava is eliminated after a heated outburst, vowing not to end up in this position again.
Ow!
Another hellish day at Camp Wawanakwa kicks off with the 2 teams gathered in the main dining hall, where signs of fatigue from the previous Awake-a-thon challenge are written all over the campers' faces. The Killer Bass in particular look like they've gone through a snore-induced marathon thanks to Harold's nighttime symphony. Rumor has it even the mosquitoes were considering earplugs.
Wow, 4 nights with no sleep? How much are you hurting, dude? Want to find out?
The next challenge, a 5-round dodgeball game, the Screaming Gophers initially rule the court.
Wake me up, and it'll be the last thing you do.
However, when Duncan takes command for the Killer Bass, they bounce back. The final dodgeball dance sees Harold as the last camper standing, securing victory for his team. Noah's minimal involvement in the challenge results in his elimination. In the next challenge, Chris presents a talent show competition to the campers. Each team must select 3 members to perform in the show. Heather takes charge of the Screaming Gophers and becomes a judge alongside Lindsay and Beth. Meanwhile, on the Killer Bass, Courtney assumes the role of the judge. Katie and Sadie's dance performance falls short of impressing anyone, fueling tensions, especially between Gwen and Heather. During auditions, Owen's soda-fueled burping and Beth's fiery baton twirling stir things up. Courtney's violin solo goes awry due to Bridget's mishap, leading to Bridget reluctantly stepping in as her replacement. Amidst the drama, Gwen and Trent find a moment to bond, but their tranquility is shattered by Cody, Owen, and Lindsay. The talent show kicks off with impressive performances from Justin, DJ, and Trent for the Gophers. However, Bridget's handstand act takes a disastrous turn. The real chaos unfolds when Heather exposes Gwen's diary, leading to humiliation and heated confrontations. In a surprising twist, Harold stuns everyone with his exceptional beatboxing skills, securing victory for the Bass. Thanks to Heather's manipulative schemes, Justin is sent packing. This sparks Gwen's retaliation as she exacts revenge on Heather by unleashing a horde of ants in her cabin, making a dramatic end to the episode.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
For their next challenge, the campers must spend a night in the woods with provided supplies and return to camp the next morning. The team that returns first wins the challenge. Tensions arise between Katie and Sadie once they're left out by their teammates, but in the face of danger, true friendship prevails. Meanwhile, the campers experience various frights in the woods, including encounters with real and imaginary bears, ghost stories, and a rainstorm that leaves both teams without shelter. Ultimately, the Screaming Gophers win the challenge and earn an all-expenses-paid trip to the tuck shop. At the campfire ceremony, Katie is eliminated and she bids a heartfelt goodbye to her friend Sadie. On a fresh day at the camp, a brand new challenge awaits the contestants, pushing them to confront their deepest fears head-on. As they tackle those fears, some campers emerge victorious while others grapple with their phobias. The Screaming Gophers clinch the victory, sealing Tyler's fate for failing to conquer his fear of chickens. In one last mischievous act, Chris, known for his twisted sense of humor, decides to give Tyler a farewell filled with feathers by placing chickens in the boat of losers. Time for a joke. Why did the chicken get invited to Camp Wawanakwa? Because it wasn't too chicken to complete. Sorry for the bad joke, guys. For the next challenge, the campers are tasked with a challenging race to Boney Island, which is rumored to be cursed, but of course, Chris downplays the legend. They must paddle canoes, cross the island while carrying their canoes, and build a rescue fire. Tensions rise as they choose canoe partners. Cody helps Gwen by vouching for her to Trent. As if paddling canoes and navigating the treacherous island terrain weren't enough, the campers face off against Mother Nature's twisted creations. Carnivorous woolly beavers and giant geese that lurk in the shadows. The Gophers win the fireboating challenge thanks to Izzy's inventive fire starter. DJ helps the base win the final canoe race despite his fear of water. However, before the elimination ceremony, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, suddenly appears in a helicopter, shining a spotlight on Izzy. But before the RCMP can get to her, Izzy runs off yelling at the campfire ceremony. Everyone receives marshmallows except Izzy, who has fled. Cody receives a bra from Gwen as a thank you gift for his support. The campers are rudely awakened by Chris flying over the camp in a helicopter. The challenge du jour involves a paintball deer hunt where they split into teams, some becoming hunters and others dressing as deer. Tensions rise as alliances are tested and Heather's bossy behavior causes friction. Cody gets mauled by a bear, leading to his elimination. The killer base win the challenge and Heather narrowly avoids elimination. In this episode, the two teams compete in a cooking challenge to prepare a 3-course meal. Tensions rise among the campers as they struggle to work together in the kitchen. Harold becomes the target of a prank by his teammates, which involves his underwear being tampered with. Meanwhile, Heather takes on a leadership role for her team, but faces challenges in managing her teammates. Ultimately, the killer base win the challenge, and Beth is eliminated for cursing her teammates by bringing the tiki idol. The campers face a challenge centered around trust. Chris divides them into pairs for various challenges. The first challenge involves cliff climbing, with Gwen and Heather for the Gophers and DJ and Duncan for the base. Gwen wins this challenge for the Gophers despite sabotage attempts. The second challenge is an extreme cooking challenge in which Bridget and Lindsay cook a fugu blowfish dish. Trent suffers from food poisoning due to Lindsay's oversight. Later, DJ's pet bunny, Bunny, goes on a wild adventure, being eaten by a snake, an eagle, and a shark. The final challenge includes 3 blindfolded challenges: the blind William Tell, the blind trapeze, and the blind toboggan race. LaShawna wins the first challenge for the Gophers. DJ and Jeff represent the base in the blind toboggan race, but DJ briefly removes his blindfold to check on his bunny, leading to the Gophers winning the overall challenge.
Oh, yeah, baby! That's how we roll!
In the end, Sadie is eliminated from the killer base and she joins her friend Katie on the boat of losers. For the next challenge, Chef Hatchet takes over Chris McLean's position and gives the campers a variety of challenges like holding a canoe over their heads, dancing, writing a 300-word essay about Chef Hatchet, an obstacle course, and hanging upside down on a tree branch. The Screaming Gophers win the overall challenge. Courtney and Duncan develop an unexpected connection and share a kiss. Unfortunately, the romance is short-lived as Courtney faces elimination.
You are going to hear from my attorney!
In the extreme torture episode of Total Drama Island, Chris announces a series of extreme sport challenges for the contestants. These challenges include skydiving onto a sofa bed, riding a moose, and water skiing on mud to collect flags. The winning team gets a luxurious mobile shower. During the challenges, there's a dispute among the girls over a secret love letter. In the end, Harold accidentally eats the love letter. Eventually, the Screaming Gophers win the challenges. Harold is voted off the island but reveals that he was the secret admirer who wrote the love letters to LaShawna. These two lovebirds share the same fate as Courtney and Duncan as Harold gives a heartfelt kiss to LaShawna before departing.
LaShawna and Harold? I was as shocked as you.
As it's a recurring theme for Chris and Chef Hatchet to collaborate in creating challenges that torment the unfortunate campers, this day is no exception. Chris reveals that the challenge will pit the boys against the girls and involve consuming repulsive dishes, all masterfully crafted by Chef Hatchet. Points are awarded to each team for successfully finishing a course. Bridget, who happens to be a vegetarian, encounters difficulties with the meals. In the initial round, Jeff comes to her aid, leading to the girls' victory. Ultimately, in a tiebreaker eat-off, the boys emerge victorious thanks to Owen's remarkable eating prowess, earning them a lavish weekend retreat. With all the teams dissolved, Chris announces the return of Izzy and Ava, who is pretty pissed at her former teammates for voting her off. So much for never ever coming back, Chris. The campers face a grueling torture challenge for individual immunity and rewards like marshmallow facials, leeches, and more. In the end, LaShawna secures the W and Ava is voted off despite her vengeance plans. In the episode Search and Do Not Destroy, campers hunt for keys and Heather plays relationship havoc by kissing Trent, leaving Gwen's heart like a tangled mess of earphones. LaShawna tries to oust Heather, but she scores immunity, leading to Trent's departure. Before the lover boy's departure, Gwen makes amends with him. Drama 1, Love 0. For the next challenge, Chris announces that the campers have to play hide and seek with Chef to win invincibility. Duncan forms an all-guys alliance to outwin the girls, and chaos ensues with creative hiding spots. LaShawna wins by cleverly hiding in plain sight and gets invincibility along with Heather. Bridget, covered in skunk stench, faces elimination as the guys vote her off for being the most athletic. Jeff confesses he didn't vote for her, creating awkward skunk-scented goodbyes. Later, Jeff is shown hanging upside down from a tree branch as a punishment for not voting Bridget out. For the new challenge, the campers are tasked with building their own bicycles using old bike parts and then participating in a dangerous motocross race. The challenge involves various obstacles including landmines, an oil slick, and a pool of piranhas. During the race, Lindsay, against Heather's expectations, performs remarkably well and helps create a path for Heather to follow. In the end, Heather wins the race, earning invincibility for the week. However, when Chris reveals that Lindsay actually finished last, she is eliminated from the competition. Lindsay is upset by Heather's betrayal, and there's a heated exchange between the two. Lindsay curses at Heather, and while her words are censored, it's clear that she is expressing her anger at Heather's manipulative behavior.
You're a two-faced, backstabbing, lying little no-good, selfish, heartless...
The 8 remaining contestants watch a movie featuring a chainsaw-wielding killer. Duncan, Gwen, and Izzy find it thrilling, while DJ is utterly terrified. Chris and Chef abruptly leave the island, leaving behind a newspaper article about an escaped psycho killer. In reality, Chris watches the campers on monitors, and Chef takes on the role of the psycho killer. Meanwhile, Izzy and Owen venture into the forest and get down and dirty in the woods. When Chef approaches, Owen uses Izzy as a shield and then flees to Chris's room, discovering Chef's true identity. Izzy follows and confronts Owen about his betrayal. Never abandon the girl who gave you a wood in the woods.
I was treated way better in prison.
In the end, DJ gets voted off for being a crybaby and never actually encountering the killer. The remaining 7 campers are tasked with capturing a specific animal without harming it. The reward for the challenge is a gourmet meal. Owen gets a chipmunk, Lashana draws a frog, Duncan selects a raccoon, Gwen ends up with a duck, Jeff gets a beaver, Izzy gets a deer, Heather reluctantly ends up with a bear. Aw, poor bear. In the end, Gwen manages to win the round, with Izzy being voted off for accidentally shooting Heather with a tranquilizer. Before we move on, let's talk about Izzy and how some believe that the wild and wacky camper might be a genius mastermind in disguise. She initially appeared eccentric, assigned to the killer-based team, but was eliminated due to the RCMP warrant. After her return, it was revealed she never left the island but thrived in the wild. Some theorize that Izzy faked her crazy persona to manipulate the game secretly. However, I believe she's genuinely a fun-loving daredevil who embraces her unique personality. After all, who wouldn't want a dose of Izzy-style insanity in a world of ordinary? Okay, now back to the show. For the next challenge, Chris announces that the campers must complete 3 challenges while handcuffed together in teams of 2. The first challenge involves an eat-off, where one teammate must feed the other. The second task is a canoe trip to Boney Island to retrieve a cursed tiki idol piece. Finally, they must build a totem pole using the wooden heads of eliminated contestants. In the end, no one wins the invincibility as each team wins 1 round. In the elimination ceremony, Jeff is voted off because his popularity is seen as a threat by the others.
We had fun, didn't we?
In this Total Drama Island episode, titled Oak Capture, there is no challenge for the remaining 5 contestants. Instead, the episode focuses on the previously eliminated contestants who are relaxing at a luxurious resort. They share their thoughts on the remaining competitors. Some campers express their dislike for Heather, while others discuss their favorites. Unexpectedly, a twist occurs where the eliminated contestants will vote off one of the remaining campers, leading to the elimination of Lashana. The remaining 4 campers find themselves in the middle of the forest. With Chris busy, Chef Hatchet takes over and informs them that their challenge is to find their way back to camp. They are divided into pairs, Duncan with Owen and Heather with Gwen. Before leaving the campers in the wilderness, Chef warns them about the Sasquatch Anaqua, a mythical creature. Gwen and Heather use clever tactics to steal supplies from the boys and set traps. During the night, they encounter the Sasquatch Anaqua, causing a chase that leads them into a cave filled with bats. Later, Owen smells sticky buns made by Chef and rushes toward camp, but he misses the totem pole they were supposed to tag. The girls reach the pole first and win the challenge. At the elimination ceremony, Duncan is voted off because seriously, who would be scared to take on the fatty of the group, right?
Sorry you had to lose over sticky buns.
The final 3 campers, Heather, Gwen, and Owen, are presented with a challenge where they have to complete dares given by previously eliminated campers. They spin a wheel to determine who performs the dare, and if they refuse, they are automatically eliminated. Owen accumulates a significant number of freebies throughout the game. Gwen and Heather also complete various dares, some of which are gross and challenging. The episode takes a shocking turn when Heather is dared to shave her head. Facing this ultimatum, Heather decides to take a stand and refuses to accept the dare. In a moment of panic, she kicks the electric razor out of Chef Hatchet's hands. Unfortunately for Heather, her sins finally catch up to her as the razor flies into the air and lands on her head, partially shaving her hair. But due to the technicality, Heather is disqualified, leaving behind Owen and Gwen as the last 2 campers. In the thrilling final episode of Total Drama Island, it all comes down to Gwen and Owen, the last two contestants battling it out for $100,000 of cash prize. Previously eliminated campers return to cheer on their favorite finalist. As Gwen and Owen gear up for the ultimate showdown, Gwen doesn't hold back her sharp critique of her fellow competitors, while Owen, ever the cheerful soul, can't help but savor every moment of the competition. The stakes are high, with Gwen boasting support from Bridget, Cody, DJ, Ava, Justin, Katie, Lashana, Lindsay, Sadie, and Trent. On the flip side, Owen has his own legion of backers, including Beth, Courtney, Duncan, Ezekiel, Jeff, Harold, Heather, Izzy, Noah, and Tyler. Heather, determined to sabotage Gwen's chances, leaves a cupcake laced with laxatives outside her cabin with Trent's name on it. Gwen is initially concerned but continues to focus on the competition. Both Owen and Gwen share their plans for the prize money, with Gwen expressing her intention to study art history and Owen promising a massive yacht party for everyone. This causes most Gwen supporters to change sides. Alexa, play Backstabber by Olivia Rodrigo. Chris finally reveals the final challenge, the rejected Olympic relay, which includes a flagpole climb, a perilous balance beam, crossing over a gorge with man-eating sharks below, and a long-distance run to the finish line. As the race begins, Owen supporters cheer him on while Gwen's friends, including Trent, encourage her. During the challenge, Heather's underhanded tactics continue as she greases Gwen's flagpole, causing Gwen to ask Trent for help. Trent, eager to impress Gwen, takes off his shirt to mop up the grease. Meanwhile, Owen struggles to climb his pole but eventually makes it to the top with Jeff, Heather, and Izzy's assistance. As the race progresses, Gwen takes the lead but faces distractions and challenges from the eagles guarding the egg and Heather's sabotage. Trent's encouragement helps Gwen stay focused. On the other hand, Owen's energy begins to wane due to the cupcake filled with laxatives which was intended for Gwen. Luckily, he receives a boost from the aroma of brownies brought by Izzy and Lindsay. The episode ends with Owen triumphantly holding the $100,000 check, celebrating his victory by tossing Chris into the lake. After all, the dude took great pleasure antagonizing the poor campers. For the Gwen lovers out there, Total Drama Island made an alternative ending, in which Gwen manages to cross the finish line first, winning the competition while Owen supporters look disappointed. She plans to throw a victory party and decides to date Trent, and Owen extends congratulations to her. Following what was believed to be Total Drama Island's final episode, Chris springs one more challenge on the 22 campers, a race to locate a briefcase holding $1 million. Owen eagerly accepts, but the others are reluctant, tired of Chris's mind games. In Gwen's ending, she is coerced to join due to contractual fine print. Eventually, campers team up and chaos ensues as they race to find the briefcase. Unfortunately, it ends up in a lake devoured by a shark. Chris informs Bridget, Jeff, Izzy, Gwen, Trent, DJ, Owen, Heather, Lashana, Justin, Lindsay, Harold, Beth, and Duncan that they'll have another chance to win the cash prize in the next season. As we wrap up this video, let's delve into a rather dark and mysterious theory that's been circulating among the intellectual depths of the Reddit hole. Some sharp minds, pun intended, have theorized that Chef Hatchett's notoriously disgusting culinary creations might harbor secret healing properties. The notion goes that Chef, unlike his best friend and the show's host, Chris, actually cares about the well-being of these beleaguered teens. Now you might be wondering, why on earth would anyone entertain such a bizarre idea? Well, consider this. Throughout their harrowing journey on Total Drama Island, these kids face countless perilous challenges that would leave mere mortals bruised and battered. Yet, episode after episode, they somehow manage to bounce back. Could it be that there's some magic, mystical, or downright mysterious ingredient in Chef's concoctions that aids in their recovery? Personally, I believe that in a world as zany and unpredictable as Total Drama Island, it's not so far-fetched to believe in a touch of magical healing mumbo-jumbo. So before we wrap things up, we're curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think there's more to Chef's cooking than meets the tongue? Share your opinions and theories in the comments below, and let's keep the discussion going.